Wednesday Night Lights. It is Wednesday, y'all, and this is another episode of the Pundits Pundit. Once again, it's four people who love running their mouths about the most important topics in sports, stuff that happens not on the field, more so from the front offices to people's minds. But I'm your moderator, Denzel Snipes. To my right is Jenn, the professional fan, and below me is the architect of the South Florida Tribune and the Sports Exchange, which is coming on right after this, Scott Morganroth. And then just joining us is the architect of the Pundits Pundit, Jacob Christner. How's everybody doing?
I just have to keep doing that sometimes. For whatever reason, I keep going silent. So we have to restart it again.
So, how's everyone feeling?
All feeling
great.
Good tonight.
I'm feeling all right.
How about you?
I feel all right other than the fact that my doctors are going to tell me that I can keep talking, but the fracture I have in my tailbone means I have a pain in the you-know-what. But as long as it doesn't affect my vocal cords, we are good to go, and my brain is working fine. Looking for our doubleheader tonight. For sure.
Hey.
Are you sure your brain is working fine, Scott? You're friends with the three of us.
Hey, now.
Oh, no, well, I know it's really working.
Especially the guy to the left.
Hey, Scott, you've been doing this for 43 years. You've been doing this for 43 years. People have been saying you've been talking out of your ass for years. So, I mean,
you know what, Jacob? There might be hope for you in this business after all, because you're pitching up with the one-liners with me, my friend.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as you all can see at the bottom, we are on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. So if you're catching us on one of those three platforms, just know that you can also catch us on the other two. So if you are a first-time viewer, great, welcome. Hit the like button, but also hit the subscribe button to Sideline Sports, because you saw the new intro video. We have a plethora of programs, Cold Hard Truth, Pundits Pundit, Pundit Views, Cubfidential, The Gauntlet, Sports Arena, Ball Don't Lie. You name it, we got it out there. Whole week's worth on weeks worth of material, all new, all fresh, all the time. And of course, we have a glorious library that you can go and check out some of the past episodes to kind of get a feel for it, make you a fan already, so you can tune in for that live episode. All right. And so also, just real quick, you can catch the guy on the bottom right at South Florida Tribune. And on Twitter, you can find all of his latest material on there and all the happenings that's going on in the sports world from the view of the man who is the pilot of the Sports Exchange Battleship. If you play him in Battleship, he's probably going to beat you, or maybe chess. I don't know. He looks like one of those guys that could beat you in chess at like one of those parks in New York City. So I don't know. How good of a chess player are you?
You know what? I am a pretty good chess player. I played in life. So, that's one of those things I can do that doesn't require any athleticism, just thinking some. So, yeah, I like that. That was always one of my favorite board games growing up. I'm glad you brought that up. Chess is the best.
He uses the pigeons to cheat when he's in the park.
Oh, well, I don't go to Central Park, so I don't mess around with the pigeons. All I know is I feel pretty good about playing the game of chess.
I play it too. I understand. I play it too. I understand.
Absolutely. So with that being said, on to our first topic, and that is, this is something it's really a part two. Okay, we tried to get into it last week and we ran out of time, but it's something that's definitely worth bringing up, and that's NFL pay structure and bonuses. Now, Jacob, I know this one was yours, correct?
Yep.
Now, with NFL pay structures and bonuses, everyone sees the glamorous lifestyle of some of the players and whatnot. They may think that whenever they sign this big, contract, that they get all the money up front. Doesn't work that way. So I was actually fortunate to be friends with Daniel Manning. You're familiar with that name, Jacob?
Of course I am. Of course I
Yep.
have.
He actually retired and returned to ACU to finish his degree. So I caught up with him there. Also met him in 2012. Awesome individual. So one time we were at a bar and he broke down, the way that it goes, and it's a game by game type deal as far as the bonuses. So it goes by position. So if Brady throws X amount of touchdowns, or if Saquon Barkley runs X amount of touchdowns, or Justin Jefferson gets like X amount of receiving yards, they can be compensated anywhere from, it could be 100,000, could be 250,000, could be a whole million. It just depends on the position, the player, and just how good they are. But wanted to start it off with Jacob to kind of, get the feel for where he was going at with this. So tell us a little bit about your thoughts about NFL pay structures and bonuses. Any pros, any cons, anything in between?
Well, the reason I brought it up in the first place was because the one thing I found out with the whole Hamlin situation, was the fact that they had to. And what's up, Brian? What's going on?
Hey, B.
Hey, and it's like, and one of the things that happened was I found out that basically on the Hamlin situation that they were finally going to pay him all of his money, and I didn't think much about it. Then you find out that anybody on the injured reserve, on the IR, can get their money cut in half for the rest of the year, no matter where their side is. So it's basically like when you hear some of the old types of pro wrestling where you get paid by the tickets and they'll give you like half the money if you're injured. That's exactly the same as now. We're 2023. I was 1986. Now you're 2023, and that still can happen.
Well,
and you have I'll finish the thing. I'll finish the thing, and we can get to this. My issue with it is the fact that it's like they are paying Hamlin now. They are paying him. But how many people got hurt for the end of the year are going to get cut in half? How many are going to have – these are, as I said, people will think that they're millionaires, but look at the taxes. Look at the taxes. Look at, they have some of them have 3 or 4 kids. Some of them all that. They're trying for that big bag. And I'm saying, look at all of the pay structure. I looked at one where there was a guy who missed a bonus, a $750,000 bonus by a half a sack.
Ooh.
He missed
brutal.
it. I forget which one it was. I think it was on the Giants side. I forget which one, but he missed it by half a sack. He had the final game of the year, and he missed it.
Well, and here's the thing. Okay, so 2 things there. IR is different because you have to get a lawyer involved to find out how much money you're going to get. I have a friend who played for the Panthers. I won't say who, I won't say when. They were injured. Suffice it to say, they were injured, and they had to have an attorney because the NFL may not pay them directly the rest of the salary, but the insurance does. Does that make sense? So DeMars is different in that, at least that's how it was with the Panthers.
Right.
DeMars is different in that the NFL and the Bills are not making it go through insurance. So I don't know if like with the insurance, like at the first time you get hurt and then it goes down like a second time or a third time, you know what I mean? I don't know if that's the case. For my friend, it was a first time injury. Okay. So.
Well, the thing I have to ask though is, or not ask, say, now, especially with what happened with Lamar, with his leg injuries and everything, we now see why he's trying to get everything, all of the money. He's trying to get everything because look how much in baseball, how much is guaranteed. Look how much is guaranteed there. And it's like, and then 162 games, but it's not as rough.
And not to mention NBA's, all their contracts are fully guaranteed. Am I right?
Yep. And look at that. And it's like, and if those are fully guaranteed, even if you see the numbers, which are technically, the numbers are only technically numbers, they're on paper. But if you see that, NBA are getting paid way more than NFL because it's guaranteed. It's like a lot of it. I also had a friend who was I had a friend way back. Until we just kind of we kind of went apart and all that kind of stuff. But he used to teach me about how football worked and everything. And he was talking about a lot of the contracts were like, because he played himself, and it was like stock options. There are stock options in the deal right there. Not everything is guaranteed. They might just, I mean, there's everything, there's every little bit, and you know what I'm talking about though, Jen. There's every little bit of fine print on a lot of these contracts. Huh?
Stock options are different to me because I hadn't heard of that unless he played for the Packers.
Well, he never played. He never
which
played.
Is also AKA Candy's team.
Well, it's an alternate way of paying them. You remember when we did the show and we had a topic of cryptocurrency and how that could be in players' contracts? Yeah, it's just another way of like not paying them like physical money.
Well, there's that, but I don't know. Honestly, like I'm cool with stocks, but I'm in the financial industry, so as long as it's a solid investment,
you'd be fine with it,
and you have a say in it, then I mean, just for me, I'm cool with it. But like the thing is most of these players, with including quarterbacks, look at Tom Brady. He doesn't get most of his money from his contracts. Like that was why he lasted so long with the Pats. Well, that and they wanted him, but he got most of his money from endorsements,
right?
Because he wanted to help keep the team under cap, and that's Bill Belichick's thing. Now you have dum-dums in New England, like, that guy that I really can't stand that plays quarterback up there on him.
Your favorite.
Yeah, that's totally understandable because, with it's endorsements that'll kick in, and those royalties that come with it. It's kind of like with the music industry, right? Any successful artist, may tell you your real money doesn't come from record sales. It actually comes from touring. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I got some juice to tell you later, Jay.
Okay, I got you. But Scott, what are your thoughts about NFL pay structure and bonuses? You agree with it? You don't agree with it? What are your thoughts on it?
What? I'm glad you saved me for last on this one. I'm going to take a position that may not be the most popular position out there, whether it's you guys or anything else. Okay, and here's the deal with Damar Hamlin. Okay, first of all, to me, what the Buffalo Bills did, it was a good gesture by the team to go out there and take care of this kid. Mm-hmm. It really did. I mean, think about it. It was a really good. Do I want to say? I don't think it was done for publicity purposes because the city of Buffalo, they're a very close-knit community. We saw what the toy drive has done and all that. But when you put everything its entire perspective, okay, Jennifer, I don't worry about whether a guy makes a bonus due to half a sack. That doesn't matter. That's been happening for years.
Yeah, sure. I agree with you, Scott. Yeah,
so
they know the deal at the beginning of the season.
Right.
Don't wait till the last game to try to make your bonus.
Well, yeah, let me tell you, I've seen Barry Sanders turn that stuff down because he could have gotten extra yards. I didn't want the rushing title. Give it to somebody else. Doesn't matter. Of course, Barry Sanders is such a neat bird anyways. What's the difference?
Right.
When it comes down to the fact that the Buffalo Bills took care of their player, that doesn't mean that the ruthless nature of a lot of teams will be the same. But the reason that they took care of their player is, number one, when you have a cardiac incident versus a regular injury, holy moly, let's just slam on the brakes for this one, because let's not kid ourselves. To this day, Chuck Hughes is still the only guy that has ever died on the field, period. And yes, yours truly was there again for the millionth time. So, I've seen a lot of major injuries, and yeah, you're right. I mean, when you talk about getting half their pay, that's just in the collective bargaining agreement. I mean, if you want to change that stipulation, you're going to renegotiate it later on down the road. But that's just the way teams do businesses. Now, if teams want to go out of their way to help a player, then it's good for the player, it's good for the team, and it just shows their fan base that they care. Does any of that make sense to you at all? I mean, if you look at I was at the Mike Utley when he got paralyzed, Reggie Brown. Nobody went out of their way to go ahead and take care of these guys. Of course, nowadays, you have to also remember that when you look at the Damar Hamlin thing, okay, you got social media in place. So every good move to me snowballs into something which is even better than it was years ago. I mean, social media does impact things. I mean, geez, look what the Bills did for this guy. I mean, this is just unreal. So, I think when you put it all in perspective of the whole thing, I wish more teams would be more proactive to take care of their players. But this is just an extraordinary situation that is something that if you're going to sit here and tell me that Herman Edwards, 68 years old, never knew a guy died on the field, and every media outlet is getting it wrong because they don't know, then Google must be gaga Google, okay, if you get my drift, and nobody cares anyway. So, the way you get news, 24-hour, 1 second, you got something else. What can I tell you? To me, the whole thing is, don't get me wrong. I love the DeMar Hamlin thing, and I'm glad that the youngster's gotten publicity. And I heard today that he's going back to the team facility to bond with a lot of his teammates and supporters. But am I going to sit here and tell you that after several weeks, now that the guy, to me, has gotten better, that I really want to hear too much more of this? And maybe I want to focus, now that he's out of trouble, okay, maybe a little bit more on football and mention it here and there. Yeah, a little bit, not much. And I'm not disrespecting the guy at all. Listen, I said prayers on every one of my shows, right, Jacob? How many of you not? Mm-hmm. I took the situation seriously and took it to heart. I'm not knocking it. It's just, I'm glad he's out of trouble, and I'm glad a lot of people stepped up is what they did. But at what point or another does publicity come into play where it just looks good?
That's true. That's true. I wanted to bring the reason I brought it up. Another thing, I read some of the collective bargaining agreement anyway. Some after this whole thing, the thing really changed me for one thing. To completely understand where this thing goes. Number one, I was on that day that Skylar Thompson was, and Skylar Thompson, I'm well aware, is because his dad coached like 15 miles from where I lived. So he's been in a farm town. Kid's been small time, and he got to the NFL. I was happy that he got that final game where he got to the playoff, and he got that payoff check. Is because to me, because guess what? 4 years, you get a pension. The average NFL career is 3. So that kid is going to get 4 years of backups. He's going to get his pension. And I was proud. And I said that on Twitter, and there's Shearer going, I don't care about that. I want to win right now, which understood. You want to win a playoff game. But it's like, I didn't believe they would get that close. That was awesome for him, and I'm glad.
Let me tell you this about Skylar Thompson. No, you know what he's a product of? This guy's a product of great drafting and personnel. I mean, look at, Purdy, right?
Yeah.
Purdy. You're talking about a guy that was drafted later. I think, if I recall correctly, that Skylar Thompson was a 6th-round pick, and nobody knew much about him. But, all he did was play 3 or 4 years. So, when you talk about Senior Bowl, hidden gems, a scouting combine, hey, I'm happy for the guy. Are you kidding? He got to play up in Buffalo and kept it competitive. And, yeah, he did. And you know what? He's going to be – let me tell you, this guy will play more than 4 years. He had a good first act. And I have a feeling what you're going to run into, since I'm here in Miami anyways, okay, that you're going to have Tua Tagovailoa and Skylar Thompson. I wonder where Teddy Bridgewater is going to wind up. I don't think he's going to be there. So then this is just one of those things that's a product of great drafting is what it really, really is. So.
Well, true. But I'm just saying I'm just glad that he's got his bonus check. He can be able to buy a nice house. He can do whatever. He's probably going to have to start a family if he doesn't have one already. The thing about it, though, is when you look at the collective bargaining agreement, they cut some of the NFL pension. There's a lot of cuts in the middle of that just to be able to bring things up. There's always sacrifice. And the NFL is a $1 billion industry.
Right.
The NFL is a $1 billion industry, and they keep cutting into the collective bargaining agreement for the players to protect, especially the ones with pensions.
Okay, we do need to take a break in a second, but I will say this. That's why you need your Eric Reeds. That's why you need those guys who may provoke people, but you know what? The dude stands up for the players. Yeah. Like he truly does. And he doesn't do everything he does, I don't always agree with. But overall, I agree with the guy, and he's a super nice guy. He really does hold to truth the whole old statement of he who holds the crown. Because you got to do the right thing. When you have a platform, you got to do the right thing. because he was like, no, if you guys are going to make us play a regular season, one more regular season game, you need to pay us more. Guess what happened?
Mm-hmm.
Guess what happened?
Yep. And Mike Ditka did the same thing for the older players. He started an organization. Nonprofit for the older players, the ones that were falling apart. He knew of one that was living in a trailer and couldn't pay his rent. They were raising money. And there's so many players like that.
Yes, it is.
Well, and honestly, goes into another topic that we do need to touch on another day, but we do need to get our first break in.
Yeah. We gotta take our first break, you all. So we'll be right back with the next topic.
And thank you guys. Oh, am I the only one not on mute?
No, I'm good.
Thank you. Okay.
It felt good to have an ad.
I know, right? All right. So now, this is a fun topic for me. I hate the Falcon. I hate Atlanta. I'm sorry, my Atlanta peeps. Like, I'm just nasty. But this cracks me up. So I have a feeling it was Jacob's idea.
Of course it is.
So go for it.
Oh, I was looking about all this, and they've been struggling a little bit, and then and then plus the fact I'm in Atlanta, so I get to talk to some of the people around the front office, because the original thing was when they got to the title game, the conference title a couple years ago, they got to that, and I thought, okay, Nate McMillan figured out Trae Young, figured this out. Ended up, no matter what, Trae Young hated him. Trae Young doesn't want to be coached. Trae Young does not want to be coached. And it's just like, he did not want to be coached in Oklahoma. He does not want to be coached now. And in the midst of it all, there was that thing. In the midst of it all, I was reading up on this, that the owner's 27-year-old son is making all those kind of moves. He traded 3 first-round draft picks for Devontae Murray.
Oh, yeah. It was his idea.
Picks. For Devontae. That's LeBron level. I mean, and it's all that kind of stuff. And there are just so many things. There's just
I love that Scott had to take a drink on that comment.
Yeah, I really did. I know.
And he doesn't drink.
I wet my whistle.
I love you, Scott. I'm sorry.
No. Hey, what are you talking about? That's timely. I had to drink on that one.
No.
Yeah.
I know. We need to be able to sip off for that one.
Yeah, but thank God it's caffeine.
You need vodka for that. But no. He does these things, and it's like his spoiled rich brat kid.
Trae Young or the owner's son?
The owner's son, 27 years old.
Both.
Like, and he's a spoiled brat, and he's a spoiled brat. All these moves, and the owner's just the owner's leaving it be. And then there's so many problems in the front office. And then and then Trae Young hates McMillan like he hated the last guy. He doesn't want to be coached, which I thought McMillan got, and I like Nate McMillan. I like the guy. It's like I thought he was a genius and had Trae figured out. Trae is a spoiled brat himself. He does not want to be coached, and he's never going to get anywhere on this. And it's like he is such a spoiled brat. He's making me think James Harden will actually win an NBA title.
I was going to say when I read
or at least win one before Hawks do.
Yeah.
Like
that's yeah.
But when I read that article about Trae getting that PJ, I think I said somewhere that if I were James Harden, I would now be offended by the comparison.
Yeah.
Well, amazingly enough, okay, ESPN had something on SportsCenter today where they talked about the Luka Doncic trade for Trae Young, and you talk about the steal of the century. I know that Jacob is really blowing up.
I'm sorry, I'll let you say in a second. I watched Euroball on like YouTube in different areas. I knew who Luka was. I was thrilled with Atlanta getting. I was going to get tickets, and then that. So I'm just yay.
You know what, Jacob? Here's the solution to all the Hawks' problems, but it may end our friendship. You need to go take charge. You need to go take charge of their front office.
Why would that end your friendship? You only got one way to go, and that's up.
I hate Atlanta. You don't understand how much I hate Atlanta fans.
I mean, when you
like there's
Atlanta, Charlotte,
yeah, when you think about that,
I'm fine with Bucks fans. I'm fine with Tampa Bay Bucks. I hate Falcons. I hate Hawks fans. I hate Saints fans.
Be happy.
I'm indifferent to Pelicans fans, to be honest with you.
Be happy. I'm a Cubs and Bears fan.
Hey, Scott, go ahead, man.
Leave Brainbirds alone, Jacob. Okay.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Jennifer to let me get a word in, even though I love this.
No, hey, I'm not the only one talking, Scott, so I'm not the one you need to call out, Jacob.
That's all right. Well, then I'm waiting. I'm waiting to get a word in here, anyways, from all you guys. That's okay. I love you guys anyway, so it doesn't make any difference. But when I'm starting to drink on a subject, and I'm wetting my whistle to say some crazy stuff. And mind you, it's not alcohol, it's Diet Mountain Dew. Like, I really need that this late anyway. But the reality is this, okay? In Detroit, when the Pistons passed on Carmelo Anthony and took Darko Milicic, we gagged there, okay? But when you go out there and trade away Luka Doncic for this Trae Young guy, okay? And you know what, though, Jacob? I'm with you. Nate McMillan is a heck of a coach, has a great reputation. If you can't play for this guy, there is something wrong. Now, as far as I should reach out to my friend Steve Holman, who's the play-by-play broadcaster for the Hawks, and talk to him about this, and maybe one day I will. But a 27-year-old undermining the Atlanta Hawks front office, I got a cat named Bucky that can outsmart this 27-year-old kid. It's not like the 27-year-old that you had on Monday night. What's his name? Ashton, whatever, who's as sharp as a.
Oh, the 9-year-old. The 9-year-old.
Yeah. Pardon me. Now I'm really losing it.
No. The 9-year-old. No. That kid's a lot sharper. That kid's a lot sharper than this 27-year-old.
Yeah, he may be the only one that can run that organization. This 27-year-old guy. There you go, Jennifer. Let's pick up on the drink there and hashtag it drinking. Okay. When we're all through
the mountains, Diet Mountain Dew, baby.
That's it. Great minds think alike. Great drinks taste the same, man. I'm telling you, man, woman, whatever. But yeah, the Atlanta Hawks have been dysfunctional for a lot of years, anyways. And you think you got a 27-year-old kid undermining their? Who do you think they're going to get to coach, anyways? That if Nate McMillan, you're going to get into another Houston Texans situation. I don't.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
Yeah. I don't want that job. Stay away. Stay away. If you want to ruin your reputation coaching. Go to the Atlanta Hawks, because Nate McMillan is about to say at the end of the year that the pastures are greener. And a lot of times, are the pastures ever greener? Probably not, but in this case, they probably are. But give me a break.
You can take the.
I'd take him in Charlotte.
You would. Well, Nate McMillan,
yeah.
As far as Trae Young, I mean, but let me ask you a question. You talk about the modern NBA athlete, anyways, and this isn't for basketball; it's for this show now. How many of them are really coachable anyways? What do you think about it?
If I would think, I would think that the utility and the ones that want to get off the bench are coachable. But I would think that they're coachable. But the superstars and everything, you got to remember, Kyrie even said himself, we don't need a coach. And then look what happened.
And what has he won since LeBron?
Yeah, we all know about Kyrie Irving, okay? You would never get your next break in a few minutes if I start ranting about him. So it's a good thing I'm not doing it tonight. But the reality is this. I find of a lot of the major sports that I've been around and covered through the years, okay, that the NBA players are the least coachable of the group. I really believe that in my mind. I've covered them all. Okay, I really have. Even NASCAR guys do better with their spotters and all that. So go figure. I don't want to take away your thunder, Denzel, but, go for it.
Well, first off, as far as the in-draft trade between Luka and Trae Young, and I know you wanted them bad down there, Jacob, but I'll just say this much. It came down to Trae Young winning the Naismith in college. If he doesn't win the Naismith, that trade probably doesn't happen. I mean, I can distinctly remember the selection show for the NCAA tournament, and a more deserving team, Oklahoma State, got screwed in favor of Oklahoma, because it would be bad for ratings if they left the Naismith winner out of the tournament, despite the fact they were an average team. They were an average squad.
Oh no! Not only were they the average team, they started so quick, and then they were like 3-16 after.
Yeah. Well, they got in the tournament, and then lo and behold, a small school knocks them out in the first round.
Well, yeah. So they started quick, and there was that, and it's like Trae Young is not coachable. I'm just saying that by itself. We're just saying he is literally a product of AAU. It is a product of AAU. It is jacking up the ball, jacking up the threes. Spread it out.
But going back to the whole owner and his 27-year-old son, it's almost like the reverse of like the Dallas Cowboys, how Jerry doesn't listen to his sons, and and I know they're in the playoffs right now or whatever, but everyone knows the expectations or not my expectations. Like I expect them to cowboy it up, but it's like he's not listening to his son. But then here you have like a son that ain't listening to the owner. And then the owner's being a bit of a pushover. This is what turns your team back into a dumpster fire. And we've seen the Hawks bad for how long? And so it's like you're trending in the wrong direction. And you say, okay, well, maybe it's time to, trade Trae Young. I don't think he's going anywhere if that 27-year-old has as much pull as y'all say he does.
Well, let me just add one thing to this. You talk about the Naismith Award, right, Denzel? Okay.
Right.
When I think about the Naismith Award, same as the Heisman. I don't think any of them I care about either of them. They're just too much hype. They don't necessarily guarantee you're going to have great players on the next level. I don't respect the Heisman. I don't respect the Naismith. Don't care about either of them because it's not what you do in college. What defines your legacy is what you do in pro basketball, which is, by the way, declines. It's declining. The only good thing about pro basketball is what we do on Sunday, Basketball Bros, because we talk about what's good about the old days, not what's bad about the new days. So a little segue.
But on a positive spin,
go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead. I've been talking over.
Maybe there's something going on there in that family dynamic. Maybe Daddy did something wrong when little boy was young, and he's trying to make up for it. Who knows? But maybe on a positive side, he's letting the kid knock out all the mistakes now while he's still around before he's not around anymore. And he's not the owner and he hands it down because now Daddy can still step in and correct what needs to be corrected, even behind the scenes.
Is it the right time, though? Because you're catching – okay, it would be the wrong time to do it if they were a top team because you don't want to screw up, right, and then trend in the wrong direction and, lose the title. You don't want to do it like in the middle when they're a middle of the pack team because it's like we're still trying to get here and we can't really afford those kind of mistakes. Don't you think that it would have been better if the Hawks were like a 10-win team like my Rockets? Okay, now let him go and do what he does, and if he makes mistakes, we'll step in and correct it. This is not the time for a test experiment. This is not the time for that. Again, how long have the Hawks been bad? Before Trae Young came along and they started making the playoffs and winning a little bit. They're looking to get back to here. They're looking to get back to when Neek was there and Kevin Willis and everybody, and they were actually a respectable franchise. The Hawks have been a bottom team for the better part of this decade and the last. So now's not the time to have your 27-year-old son being a lab rat, a lab hamster or whatever. No, you step in and you give him his responsibilities and tell him don't cross over no lines, and then you do what you need to do.
There's people I've talked to that literally thought that trade happened. And they just talked to me and they were telling me they thought that a trade happened because they didn't want to have the people from Roswell and Alpharetta coming to the games. Those areas coming to the games. They wanted they wanted to be able to get more downtown, midtown type. Which if it would have been Roswell, Alpharetta, if it was Luca.
So Jacob, let me ask you a direct question, Jacob, okay? Mm-hmm. And that's this, a very easy one. What are they drawing for those Hawks games?
I'll tell you this. If it's right now, Jack and nothing, but that's also with the Falcons too when they do that.
Okay, but give me a rough estimate for the rest of our audience.
Because you get the numbers, but if I could go right there, I would bet you anything. If I went to in the middle of the stadium, I bet you I could walk down by the third quarter and get to a good seat.
Well, you do a better job dodging questions than Barry Sanders did.
Okay, well,
defenders. I'm asking you, are they drawing around 10,000, 12,000?
8 to 10.
Huh?
I'll say 8 to 10.
Okay, that's fair enough. Remember, people that are watching this thing, our broadcast here, want to know 8 to 10 and why this guy is, to me, a cancer, because that 27-year-old is nothing more than just a cancer.
Yeah, no, you're right to ask that question. I wasn't trying to avoid the question. I was just saying.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
Oh, no, absolutely. The thing about it, though, there was people that I've talked to that we would have conversation over the Hawks, conversation over everything. They thought that trade happened because there were some of the people inside the front office that didn't want to get the Alpharetta Roswell crowd into that thing. They wanted to be able to get the Midtown downtown crowd.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, because for one thing, even if Luka would have brought a full house every night, it's just true.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing: if you put together a solid product and you actually have a mantra, like in Charlotte, everyone was so upset about Rule getting rid of Keep Pounding. Why? Because it became embedded in our society. Not just Charlotte, but in Rock Hill, Fort Mill, upstate South Carolina, all over South Carolina. When I've gone through some of the toughest times in my life, and when I've had friends go through tough times, you say, keep pounding, because it means more than just a football thing. Buzz City, I go out and there say that, and you almost feel energy from the person you say it to. You don't get that with Atlanta. You don't get that with the Saints. You don't. Because they haven't built a true culture. And we've been around a lot less longer. And the Hornets had a nice little break there from the Charlotte area. That's Atlanta's problem. But Jay, did you want to close this topic up real quick before we take our next break?
We can go ahead and go to the next break. And after the next break, I'll break up the next topic. But well, we're gonna take a quick commercial break. And with that being said, here is a look at our lineup of shows.
Welcome back. Hi, handsome men.
We appreciate it.
Hello, Jennifer.
Hello, Scott.
She
what have you seen the guy over there?
And the Hooters cup.
I didn't know that.
Well, I was trying to forget that was a Hooters cup. Okay.
It's really hard to do that. I don't know what the next cup will be.
I don't understand. I don't understand how you like their wings, Scott. I'm sorry. We got.
I do. They're good nationally, but if I had a local sponsor, I can tell you that Duffy's is really the best. But I'm on the road a lot. I'm on the road. I've probably been over 10, 12,000 miles in the last 12 months.
Probably.
Wow, that's a lot. That's a whole.
Yeah.
We need to get you that seat cushion.
Yeah, the way things are working out, I might need a bit of help.
Yeah, you're gonna need you remember on Bad Boys 2 when Marcus Burnett got shot in the ass and he needed the donut and Mike Lowry brought him the donut to sit. Might have to get you one of those, Scott. You know?
I see a lot of those donuts over at the truck stop. I'll tell you, those truck stops are good. I get my hats, I get my gloves, and now I may need one of those. What do you call it? Donuts? Is that what they call it?
Yeah. It's like my girlfriend has one. She drives with it. If we're going to a concert, like she's my girl. Oh, she's my concert girl. She takes it with us to the concerts. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll give you a business idea. Now that Jennifer was so sharp with her eyesight to identify a Hooters cup, she ought to go out there and take this clip and try to get a sponsor for this show presented by Hooters.
Yeah.
Hey, that'd be great. If we can get a sponsor by Hooters. Major corporation, major entity. But we got about 15 minutes left.
cup keeps my stuff cold, and I'm going to need it more for later on in the second half of our doubleheader. Go ahead, Denz.
Yeah.
You also need it in the second half of the year too, because Miami is hot. So yeah, we got about 15 minutes left. Then we got to get Scott on over to the Sports Exchange, which you can catch directly after this show. Boogie on over to YouTube or Facebook, and then catch the Sports Exchange. And then after that's over with, come back on over to Sideline Sports and catch the Sports Arena at 10 p.m. Eastern. So now for our next topic, and that is Vince McMahon's final stand. So I'm glad y'all brought this up. I'm glad y'all brought this up. So Vince McMahon returned to WWE out of retirement, and he was unanimously voted on to the board of directors. And now there's heavy word going around that saying that he's only back to sell the company, because apparently it's easier to sell a company when there's only one CEO. With that being said, Stephanie McMahon has stepped down as co-CEO. I believe Nick Khan is now the sole chief executive officer. They are fielding suitors to buy the company. Of course, heavy in the running has been Saudi Arabia. But this has scared a lot of wrestling fans because things have just been really, really nice ever since that man was gone. Okay, so him setting foot back into a WWE office has seemingly got everybody spinning on their heads. Now, I remember specifically a long time ago, Jacob, that you had a theory that the reason why Stephanie stepped aside was to look after her husband, in which actually it turned out that it wasn't him, it was that whole scandal thing. And I honestly believe she left because she believed the earth was crumbling. So that's why she booked it. And then the earth crumbled and he was forced to retire and she was forced to come back. Probably essentially cutting into her time with her family. Who knows if she's even going to be back, much less when. But I'll start off with you, Jacob. Your thoughts on this whole thing on Vince being back and what it would mean.
Well, I missed on Stephanie, the Hunter thing, for one thing. Hunter, I absolutely thought that just because he damn near dead.
Yeah, true.
He nearly died. I really thought that he couldn't take that thing, but he's an athlete. He's a super stud athlete. It's like, not to say he's going to go back in the ring anymore, but it's like you recover better when you're that. I've seen this personal and everything like that. When there are things that kill other people, that there are just ones that can recover faster. So, but the thing about Vince is, I wonder with him that, for one thing, you knew he wanted to go play golf. You knew he wanted to go do all that stuff. He wasn't going to just lay on his laurels. He's always had the stocks. You know what I mean? He's always had the stock options. He's always had all that. So you knew he wasn't laying on his laurels. And it's like, mind you, it's been much better creatively without him. So as long as he stays away from that, they might still have a chance. But here's the deal. It's like, if he would sell to Saudi Arabia, is that a troll job? But really, at the end, why would he sell to Saudi Arabia? And here's the thing. Maybe it would be in a thought process, because why would Stephanie leave? The women's division never been better. She started that whole thing to build that up. Mm-hmm. If they sell to Saudi Arabia, the women's division is screwed. It's
finished.
It's finished. Not be. It is done. They will not push it. I mean, even though it is a more progressive Saudi Arabia comparison, it is, because women are driving at least with a man in the thing for like 3 years, but it's still far from progressive as you get. It is far. I mean, there will not be a women's division. I mean, to even have the women's matches that they did, they had to completely cover all their skin, every bit. So it's over. So did Stephanie leave because it would go to Saudi Arabia? That would be the end of that. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, your option. The thing is, would he want to continue to run it? Run the offices, run the creative. That would be NBC or Amazon.
Yeah,
that would be the ones that want to leave that well enough alone. I mean, and remember, Peacock has the WWE network anyway. What if NBC just bought the rest of it and they leave him alone? They let him do it once. There's a lot of these things right here. At the same time, is he that one that wants to die in the office? It's like these are a lot of questions I have in my head.
Yeah, And you know what? Even Triple H's job may be in question because don't forget, they're selling to another suitor. It could be their choice if they want him there or not. But wouldn't it be something if, as a final kind of, stick it to their dad, she ran and joined AEW? You think they'd take her?
Do it. Helps Shad Khan buy it.
Yeah.
Shad Khan has 4 times the money that Vince does. He could buy WWE and pull the WCW reverse.
You know what? Because he does own the Jaguars.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll swing it over to Scott. I know you're not like a fan of today's wrestling, but you do have because you still watched it a little bit when this Vince McMahon took over from his father, Vincent J. McMahon.
Don't worry, this is not foreign language to me. Okay, so number one, let me break it down in a couple ways. Okay, number one, Vince McMahon is a first-class snake. Period. He's a snake. And I can give you 3 letters in the alphabet. Well, they'll tell you XFL. Okay. Not once, but twice. So now I'm starting to get into a mass situation. XFL to the second power. Am I losing it now, Jennifer? Is a Diet Mountain Dew sinking into me that XFL are 3 letters of the alphabet? And the word snake is defined Vince McMahon. Now, I can tell you right now, anybody in their right mind would love to see Shad Khan go ahead and buy it from Vince McMahon. I would. I mean, why not?
I would, 100%.
Shad Khan has never been at risk to lose his voice this year because his team is doing awfully well. He doesn't have to be involved with Urban Meyer's drinking in Cincinnati and all the other insanity that went with it. Yeah, I always liked wrestling going back to the day at Olympia Stadium with Bobo Brazil, the Sheik, and all these other guys. And the one thing I learned about fighting is Danny Dan Miller, when I used to have the arm claw hold, grabbed it, down here. And for a guy much shorter, it hurt no matter how big I was dealing with if I got in a fight. But that's for another day. I'm not violent. Well, I don't know, maybe it depends on who I have to deal with. But no, in all reality, okay, to me, I can understand why, you got live written all over. If he sells this to the Saudis, oh my goodness. I mean, it's bad enough that golf obviously isn't peaceful here with the live situation, but you're talking about a combat sport is what you're talking about, and with violence, with a ethnic group that's certainly known for it, if you get my drift. Yes. So you add that kind of barbarism involved along with the business side, this becomes a dangerous situation. So, maybe the guy's just so hyper energized that he needs to get back in the WWE game. This is probably more of a TBD. All right, we see what it looks like. His daughter got out of it, kind of a deal. But I don't like the look of the whole thing in the first place. I think Vince McMahon's final stand should be on the golf course or do something else. Stay away from football, stay away from contact sports, and think of something else. Maybe you can patent yourself with another jack-in-the-box toy because everything you touch seems like it's a toy to you and you don't take it seriously anyway. So I have zero respect for the guy. I mean, to me, when you look at what he's done with 2 football leagues that have potential, one was a gimmick, and of course, COVID-19 didn't help him the last time either. The smartest thing that Vince McMahon ever did was sell the new XFL version over to, what is it, Danny Johnson?
The Rock.
Yeah, and Danny Garcia, yeah.
And that's the smartest thing he's done. Otherwise, I can't seem to find anything else. Help me. Am I losing it? Come on. Bail me out here.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You did bring up an interesting point, and I'm going to actually swing it over to Jen. And I'm gonna lead off with this question. Now, on the show, we've talked about Saudi Arabia and sport washing, right? So they did the whole live golf thing because worldwide they have this horrendous reputation, the journalist that got killed and all the other atrocities, right? Would buying WWE, something that is globally popular, would buying WWE kind of double down on the sport washing aspect, or do you think it's like totally separate?
That's actually a really good question. I actually think that at least stateside, and I think in your power nations, it's going to go down. I can see it doing both, to be honest with you. Because some nations don't care. They have bigger things, like literally food, water, clothing, literally than WWE and some dude making $9 billion off of it. That being said, I don't know that they would really mess with the actual wrestling part of it that much, except for getting rid of women's wrestling, which then, I mean, they have to weigh the pros and cons on that, right? So I don't know. And I feel bad because, by all accounts, the actual Saudi Arabian people are really good people. Yeah. But it's the government, just like other countries. It's the government. And unfortunately, it's a reflection on the country, even if the citizens don't have anything to do with that reflection.
Yeah. And, to Scott's point, he is a bit of a snake. Like the first time that they ever did a pay-per-view.
Oh no, he's a POS.
Oh yeah, no, I know. I'm talking kind of lightly here, but the first show they did in Saudi Arabia, the women actually begged them not to do it, but he had $63 million on the table. I don't think for one second, if Saudi's ready to buy, I don't think for one second that he would renege on the deal and not sell to him and take into account the WWE divas and everything like that. Because at the end of the day, Vince will throw his own under the bus to make $1. He's done it already.
Stephanie.
He's done it already and several times over. Yeah. So he absolutely would kill the women's division just to make a buck off selling the company. He's done it. He's done it his entire life. Everyone talks about the Montreal screw job. That's not the first time that he screwed a wrestler off a controversial finish because, and Jacob, you remember this? And Scott, I know you remember this, but when Wendy Richter lost in controversial fashion to the Fabulous Moolah and Vince ran and hid in the office, it literally was the women's division version of the Montreal Screwjob. Literally, and no one talks about it.
Well, here, let me add another point, okay? The last commissioner that this guy had was Oliver Luck, okay? Andrew Luck's dad, right? And this guy's the most credible football guy on the planet. He tried to mess with this guy. So if you're talking about what you're talking about, Denzel, to your point, Oliver Luck is a little bit pretty widely known in the football circles, and that thought, oh, maybe you better stay away from this Vince McMahon character anyways, because wherever he touches, he screws it up. And again, I'm going to go back. You were being...
No, it's more like Scott, whatever girl he touches, he tries to screw.
Well, true. Okay.
That too.
But your POS analogy, and my snake, we were being nice about this because.
Oh yeah, absolutely, we were. I've got more to say on it too, but.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying we were being very nice about this, about what this guy's really all about. But in the end, he is a snake, and I mentioned Oliver Luck because Oliver Luck's had a great track record in professional football and college football. You bring him in here for a fledgling league that has potential to bring on new NFL prospects or what they are. And I understand COVID wrecked at this time, but he didn't have a plan, and he's impatient and he's impulsive.
You want to know the smartest?
And that worked with him building what is now WWE. But what he forgets is, in actuality, the Glorious Ladies of Wrestling really helped make wrestling the forefront.
Yes, they did.
Glow helped.
I used to be such a Glow fan when I was younger.
Dude, I rewatching Glow right now. I got that 70s. I reordered Netflix just for that 90s show. Just saying.
Go get Tina Purell.
The 80s Glow. Like my favorite was Godiva. And then and who else? The Iranian woman, the Palestinian woman, the crazy one. Yeah. Those are awesome. I'll go on YouTube and watch old clips of them.
I will give Vince McMahon props on how he grew this company. However, as he's gotten more money, he thinks that he equates that with more power. No. And what he did to his daughter was wrong. He forced her out. She didn't want to work with him. There have been articles written about it. I'm more inclined to believe the articles than anything else. I mean, Stephanie McMahon has the money. She wants to be there for her husband. I get that. I married 100%. Scott's married. So Scott and I know what it's like to want to be there for your spouse. Right. But we also understand that Stephanie McMahon took a year away from taking care of her man for taking care of the WWE. She didn't step aside to take care of her husband. That's such an old school thought. It really actually effing pisses me off for her that people would think she's that weak or meek. But at the end of the day, she knew her father was going to try to belittle her, be rude to her, undercut her, and everything she had done. Why would she want to sit there and watch all of her hard work go out? Legally, what he did was correct, was allowed legally. However, what's interesting is he's currently being sued by, I saw this a minute ago. Hold on, let me tell you guys. He's being sued by the Detroit and Cops and Fire Pension Plan are suing Vince McMahon against the because of what he's done.
Well, here's the thing. It doesn't have to be. I did not have a thought process of me. I'm sorry if you thought the thing. That wasn't the reason I had in the first place. I just think.
No, I didn't think it was you necessarily, but like so many people, and you and I.
My thought is. My thought was just you're. I mean, I would think Triple H would do it for Steph. It's a couple doing it for one another. But you want to know another thing? You want to know who the smartest out of all this? Shane. He got away. He became a CEO, a couple of different companies, went back, then left again, became a performer, didn't do a whole bunch. Then that,
and they fired him. This last time they fired him.
Yeah, but Shane knows how ridiculous he is. He wouldn't want to take that place.
Well, and that's why Stephanie left. Like, she knew all the dirty secrets were coming out. I mean, think how it feels to know your mom's been cheated on so many times by someone who was raping women.
And think, dude, he beat during that match. He beat up Stephanie. Really, I mean, mind you, it's a match. Mind you, it's a match. It's a choreography. He stiffed the shit out of his own daughter.
Yeah, he did. I remember that too.
If he would stiff the shit out of his own daughter in a match of someone weighs over 100 pounds over, then he would do this shit to her. He would.
Guys, let's finish this conversation next week.
We got to get
as Denzel mentioned at the beginning of the show, we got 2 guys with the doubleheader tonight. So everybody watching us, go on over to South Tribune.
South Florida Tribune.
South Florida Tribune. I was like, what am I missing? Sorry, Scott. I apologize.
Well, you have to apologize. All you were missing was just the state. That's all.
Sorry.
You identified the styrofoam cup and not the state. Just kidding.
See what happens when you mispronounce Scott's name? You get coughing fits. So
I know, right?
So you get your act together, Jen. That's why you're drinking water, trying to get air now. That's what happens when you mispronounce his name.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, my minor was English and major, so I pick up on this stuff. Being a journalist, you have to do that. It's no big deal. I'll say the one thing before we close the show, though. I wouldn't touch Vince McMahon on any of my shows, so I give you guys a lot of credit for doing it. I wouldn't even give this guy 2 seconds, let alone the time you gave it. So more power to you.
Well, it's a conversation. It's a conversation,
Well, okay, it is, but I wouldn't touch it on the sports game.
I'm very ashamed that he's from North Carolina.
So
that's right, he sure is.
You guys have a great night, and I will talk to y'all in 7 days. I beat you to it, Jay. If you want to say it your way, you can.
Oh, no, you beat me tonight. You got it.
I just wanted to say it once.
I can take a break.
Everybody have a great night. Head over to the South Florida Tribune.
All right, bye.